What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from England and Italy. I am your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you?
It's a little melancholy today, last day of summer vacation for your boys. So, the vibes are bittersweet heading back to school.
Yeah, back to school blues all around on the podcast tonight. But you know what? We had an exciting weekend, and we have an exciting week coming up in soccer. There's plenty to supplement. We got a lot of Champions League to pour through over the next few weeks too. A lot of good games that we watched over the weekend. It was a good week, at least for one of us, over the weekend. With the inner city derbies. So at least we have that going for us. Before we get into the main chunk of the show here, just got to give a shout out to our sponsor, of course. This episode of Top Ends is brought to you by Binho Board. Binho is the next big tabletop game for your man cave / she shed. Think paper football meets foosball, and you've got Binho. Binho Board is a game and lifestyle brand based in Phoenix, Arizona, and their goal is to provide the highest quality boards and a true brand experience. Every part of their boards have been tested time and time again for the best possible playability so that every flicker's experience is a positive one. Bring the world together with Binho and hear someone's story from the other side of the pitch. Right now, you can go to binhoboard.com and use our code BINHOUSP, BINHOUSP, for 10% off your order, including newly launched Team USA World Cup board, Team Mexico merch, a lot of other World Cup merch dropping, because I don't know if you're all aware of this. It's sneaking up on us. World Cup is coming up in just a few months. We're really only, I think, like 3.5 months away from the World Cup. So you can check out Binho Board, get you some awesome World Cup merch there, and you can use code BINHOUSP for 10% off your order when you do so. We're gonna start in Italy, which had a lot of marquee matchups over the weekend. Certainly did not have. Some weekends where it's like, just not sure which games are really going to catch the eye. The entire Saturday slate was fantastic. We had a lot of, especially top of the table, top 4 matchups. We're going to start with Lazio 1, Napoli 2. Lazio, have started out pretty bright coming into this game. Napoli, I think, have been a surprise for a lot of people, but it's also because they've made some signings, and you're seeing like that squad get strengthened a little bit, and they've been, I think, probably the most entertaining team in Italy in terms of just goals scored and kind of the way their games have gone so far. To get the win over Lazio, I thought controlled this game pretty well. Kvaradona back at it again with another fantastic goal. Napoli definitely created the better chances in this game. I think there's a lot to draw out of that for them. And I think the only negative is Victor Osimhen picked up an injury in this game. Apparently, he's not going to be available when they play Liverpool in the Champions League this week. That's obviously a huge loss for him. His movement, his finishing ability is something that is really, really vital to their attack. That I don't know quite gets replaced when you have Raspadori and Simeone in, but it will obviously give them a chance for some game time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fortunate for Napoli that they have such like a deep choice of who to play at that striker position. So, they can slot somebody in and keep playing the same way they've been playing, and I think that they'd be just fine. Simeone is kind of cut from the same cloth as Osimhen, and Raspadori kind of allows him to play maybe a little bit differently, because he can kind of play maybe as like a false number 9. And kind of sink into the midfield and help with the center mids for Napoli. But another goal for Kim as well. It seems like they have a very threatening, towering presence on dead ball situations. So, Napoli have a lot of avenues to score, and I think that we'll see a lot of results like this over the course of the season for Napoli.
Yeah, Kim has been really threatening aerially. Very physical defender too.
Yeah.
They've definitely replaced Koulibaly in a good way. He's not at Koulibaly's level, of course, when he played for Napoli, but in terms of, like you mentioned, the threat on set pieces, he's been very good. Hirving Lozano also got injured in this game, similar to Osimhen last year. They were worried about a facial fracture. Apparently that's all cleared, but uncertain of like what his timetable to return is. At least it doesn't seem anything serious, which is good for Napoli. For Lazio, it's a tough loss. I didn't think they were really in this game all that much. They did have, and this was an issue pretty much all across Europe, but especially in these two leagues that we discussed on this show. Referee decisions this weekend and either VAR reviews or lack of. In this game, there was a lack of. Mario Rui definitely caught Lazzari with an elbow to the face.
Yes.
Sometimes players, they exaggerate the contact. We all know, right? But and sometimes they really beg for the penalty. And I thought he made a very clear case. I was shocked that this did not go to review because as soon as you saw the replay, it was pretty obvious his elbow was away from his body and caught him very high up. I was actually worried for Milinkovic-Savic. He was screaming at the referee. He ended up picking up a yellow card for dissent. It really seemed like he was gonna talk his way into a red card with how aggressive he was. But when you see it as clear as Milinkovic-Savic did too, because he was right in front of the play, it's hard not to be that incensed about it because a penalty at that point in the game, you trust Immobile to put it away. That is changing the result and the direction of the match. So that is a common theme that we will discuss in pretty much every game, honestly, that we'll talk at least in depth this weekend because it was an issue this weekend in terms of refereeing decisions. But for Napoli, it put them at the time top of the table. Atalanta won today against Monza and go top of the table. By the way, the first time in 60 years that they've ended a match week top of the table, which is shocking to me when you consider Atalanta have been really good over the last 4 or 5 seasons. You would think at some point they would have just been top of the table after like game week 7 or something. But shout out to them. But Napoli, I think, have been a little bit of a surprise for me. Again, so much of that I think has to do with the transfers that, when we made our season predictions hadn't happened yet. But I've been really impressed so far with Napoli and how they've played. Hopefully Osimhen is not out for long because that could obviously be a real threat to them. But I do like the direction that Napoli is in.
Yeah, so do I. They're electric. They're playing, attacking football, similar, very reminiscent of past Lazio teams and what you've come to expect from that team and that organization. So, I had them just outside European spots as well in my preview. So, they're surprising me. Both them and Atalanta are definitely surprising me so far.
Yeah, and Maurizio Sarri was complaining about the referees after, saying that he thinks they're being unfairly officiated. A lot of saltiness about the referees this weekend, and that is
the most common trope. Every team blames the refs for supporting all the other teams when it never works for them.
I think what his point was more that referees have complimented them, I guess, after games and stuff for not being like a too physical, not being like a dirty team. Yet he's complaining about the number of yellow cards that they're receiving, and he just thinks that there's some weird discrepancy there. It's like, well, which are we? Are we a dirty team or not? Because if we're accumulating that many yellows, I don't know. I think there's something there, but for Lazio, it's just a little frustrating because it felt like we were ready to put our faith in this team. It's already reminding me so much of last season where we were so ready to buy in on Lazio at so many different times, and maybe this is just who they are. I don't know. I did think they were maybe a little unlucky in this game, but I think Napoli were deserving of the 3 points. They just created the much more clear-cut chances for me. Shall we go to... I think looking ahead was the game of the weekend and certainly delivered on it. Certainly one of the better derbies that we've had between Milan and Inter Milan. It ended 3-2 in favor of Milan. A great game. It had just about everything except for a sending off. I think that was the only bingo card missing off of this one, and we were close a few times. It felt like, at least. Some controversy, some great goals, some bad goals in terms of team execution defensively. Had passion. It had everything. I mean, it was everything you'd want out of a game. Incredibly intense as well. I mean, this felt honestly like a game in May. Like a title decider almost. That was the level I think this game rose to. A few of the goals I think you could sort of point to being more individual or just some team organization mistakes. I'm especially thinking of Inter's first goal where, they get just a free run out of midfield to a 1v1 with Mike Maignan, and that was just sort of a lapse in defensive structure by Milan. But I think Rafael comes out of this. You know, I would just like to say for the record, we were right when we talked about Rafael last year. And I think everyone is starting to wake up to that, especially this summer. And there's some people that don't watch SerieA, that don't think he's very good, that think he's overrated, whatever. He's not a great, well, whatever, you know. And that's so wrong. And they're so not correct.
So wrong.
And you watch a game like this that he just absolutely took over. And it's not the first time he did that. Milan do not win the Scudetto last year if it is not for Rafael and his incredible form in the last month and a half, carrying the team offensively. He was the focal point of the attack all season for them. And he wins them this match, I would say, too. Just an incredible individual performance by him. And I think there's a reason that they turned $100 million down from Chelsea for this man.
That's a fact. The man's priceless to Milan right now. And this also goes without saying, you know, a guy like Olivier Giroud, who also got a goal and an assist, right, helped out Rafael Leao and vice versa. So, you know, Giroud has been in the last few, you know, derbies, he's been one of the main guys, you know, always finding the back of the net or finding a teammate. So this had everything you expect from a Milan-Inter game back in, like, you know, back in the day. Like,
no flares on the pitch. No flares on the pitch this time, which was nice. But man, it started from you know the pregame lineups and you know Hakan coming around and Theo smacks him on the back of the head and gives him a little chirp, and then you know all throughout the whole game, you know you could see like them bullying him. It's his mistake too that leads to Leao's first goal. It's I wouldn't say a terrible pass, but it was the wrong time to make a mistake.
See in his reaction to he knows a goal is coming out of it.
Because you get an overloaded side with Tonali threading it through to Rafael, who, you know, he's not going to hit the target like that every time, but you know it's just a threatening position to find yourself in. He seemed out of it. It was definitely a ghost Çalhanoğlu game, you know, which we have seen over the years from him. Sometimes he just isn't in that zone.
The hatred and just controversy between Denzel Dumfries and Theo Hernandez is just pure entertainment as well.
Shocking,
the entire game.
I don't really remember that being a subplot in any of the games between them last year.
It started to grow and bubble each game.
Well, I mean, it certainly boiled over in this game. That's where I thought the red card might come from, because you could tell me either one of them maybe loses their cool a bit, and they're both just those types of players too that are just like obviously very good, but also a little, I would say, aggressive at times, and I think not afraid to get a little emotional and like. Maybe lash out a little bit.
None of the players on each of the teams like each other, you know, and that's kind of like what you expect from a game like this. You don't want like the lovey-dovey type, like, okay, yes, it's a rivalry game, but nice, we're all going out to the bar after this. You know, this is like, I hope your family starves type deal. Like, I hope we beat you, you lose your job, and your family starves. Like, that's what the stakes are.
I was not expecting family starving on the list today. It does have to be like old school about it. If I'm Roy Keane, I'm saying this game had the edge about it that you know people associate with like an older, and I think you can still get rivalries like this. I thought Inter's midfield were terrible in this game, and that's where a lot of these problems stem from, which is surprising because that's obviously most people
their strongest midfield that they can start.
One of their strengths. It is typically, you know, they have you know, good midfield play, good individual midfield players as well. But I just thought Tonali was absolutely on one. Bennett has just had a renaissance to start the season. He's been great. Not that he wasn't last year, but I just think he's really had some strong performances. And Tonali gets a lot of the credit for this game, and deservedly so, because he was just so active, especially like intercepting the ball. He's obviously a big part in some of the goals, but Bennett, I think too, has just been, he has not put a foot wrong really in many of his games this season, which is huge.
What I like about Pioli's double pivot is that Bennett is more of that Pirlo role, that deep lying playmaker that doesn't really move up unless he has to, which allows Theo to get forward, which allows Tonali the freedom to press as much as he can on the field, allows him to get forward like that to make that type of interception, which led to the first goal. That partnership is just I think it's proved a lot of doubters wrong, even within the Milan fan base, because a lot of people were like, "This is all we have. I don't know if that's going to replace Kessie." I think Tonali replaced the Kessie role, and which allows Benacer more freedom to just link up all the play from the back to the forwards, and really find players in some really dangerous space. Benacer has that vision to play like Junior Messias or Leao down the line, from a deep lying position. So as long as they stay true, they're the engine for Milan. And if those two guys stay healthy and continue to grow as a partnership, Milan's going to be a very tough force to reckon with, as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as those guys are healthy, it would be a concern. Obviously, once you start to get to European, games this week, when you get the depth is not quite there for them in midfield. Yeah. They have pretty decent depth in other areas. They did sign Serginho Dest. Apparently beat Inter Milan to the punch as well. Maybe that's where some of that aggression came from. They saw their wanted man on the other side of Milan there. But yeah, I thought it was a great game. This is the first time that Milan have won as the home team in this derby since 2016. Typically it's just not been really. Inter have gotten the better of them in the league quite a bit over the last few years. So it's a big win. Listen, I still expect that these are the two teams that will be fighting out for the title this year. I just still think these are the two best teams in Italy, my personal opinion. Now, maybe Napoli and Atalanta will have something to say about that, but just for me, I think these two teams hit a gear that other teams can't quite hit. We'll see how it progresses. It's a great early season benchmark for the both of them. I think Milan passed a lot of tests. And I think for Inter, it raises more questions. We talked last week. I think there was questions about Inzaghi in bigger games, and when they lost to Lazio, and that he's kind of had a little bit of a problem in some of the bigger games in SerieA and not being able to get one over on the opponents. I think you can question that in some ways. And I do wonder if there's like a mentality thing here too. They also didn't have Lukaku. Not that that's an excuse, right? But they still have a lot of other talent. But I do just wonder about the mentality of this team sometimes, where they feel a little arrogant almost. I don't know. And they've been obviously very good. They won the Coppa Italia last year. They won the Scudetto the season before. Obviously not with Inzaghi, but they have won over the last few seasons. But I do wonder sometimes maybe if you're not managing that properly, players and teams can think that they are just like owed and deserve the 3 points, or owed and deserve kind of their respect when they step on the field. And I get that feeling sometimes with this Inter team.
You know what? You're not wrong when you say that, I think, because I get that same feeling as well. I get it a lot from their fans online.
The fans or whatever. Fans are always going to be cocky, but when the players and the coaches seem like
start believing it too,
way,
yeah. Because you could see it, because like what has Milan been, the last decade, right? Inter's always had the upper hand on them, and Milan has just started to, come back around as a serious team and ended up winning the league last year. But, Inter, it seems like their players are like, oh, well, we won the Coppa and the Super Coppa. Like, you should still respect us. All you won was the measly Scudetto. Like, are you sure? I think that's the more important trophy when it comes down to it. The trophy's a trophy, but, like, if we're going to rank them out, I think winning the league is a lot better than winning the Coppa. So, and you get that vibe, like, Inter's players feel like they deserve the trophy every year, or, like, now that, Juventus isn't the same Juventus from the 2010s, they're next up. It should be their league every year. It should be their win against all these teams that they don't respect and they've been historically better than. And it's starting to catch up to them. Games like this will creep up on them, and a really good team, or a really, impassioned, mid-table team that can get the upper hand early. These are teams that can, really hurt Inter in their quest for the title this year.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing those two teams progress. Like I said, I still think these are the two best teams in Italy. Perhaps Napoli will have something to say about that. Maybe Atalanta as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out for the rest of the season. Elsewhere, Udinese shocked Roma. Very surprising result. Udinese have enjoyed a good start to the season, but you watch this game too, and frankly, it felt just like not meant to be at times for Roma. Hit the post a few times. Udinese's goals, I don't want to say were, flukes or total luck, but there was an element of luck to a few of them. There was a penalty that I don't know how there was no review on one of the challenges. I'm blanking on the Roma player that it was on, but there was some controversy here and some missed woodwork. I don't look at this too terribly. It's obviously not great. Like if you look at the optics, losing 4-0 to Udinese is never really a good thing. But I don't chalk this up as anything disastrous just yet, especially when you just look at the manner of defeat. It's not like Roma were completely outclassed here. I think it was just like it was a weird variance game. Mourinho, typical Mourinho, as we love him, as we always do, deflecting in the post-match, talking about the referees. Says he wasn't going to talk about the referees and then goes on to blame the referees. By the way, I had this in my notes. I forgot to mention it for the Milan-Inter game. Dom, would you like to guess who has the worst post-shot expected goals in SerieA? Which keeper has the worst post-shot expected goals? AKA, after the shot has been kicked, what is the expected goal and how is the keeper saving that? It is a good metric to see if your keeper is performing well or not.
Who has the worst? Handanovic.
Minus 2.5. That is rough, as we say in the business. He did not put on his best display.
It's only time until Onana takes that starting.
Well, I gotta tell you, I watched some Onana games when he was playing for Ajax. It wasn't exactly great either. Atalanta, like I said, continue to roll. They won at the midweek and then won again today against Monza. Monza, everyone's preseason favorite. 0-5 to start the season. I didn't get a chance to read yet, and I'm sure it hasn't been translated into English just yet. And my Italian isn't quite good enough to be able to just glean whatever is coming from the luminary mouth of Berlusconi. I don't know who he's blaming this week for the result, but I'm looking forward to checking that out. Maybe if you're listening to this, you can give Gazzetto a try and see who Berlusconi is blaming this week. Tough week for them. Cremonese also still without a win. There's actually a few teams in Italy, a shocking amount of teams in Italy that do not have wins so far. Empoli, Bologna, Lecce, Sampdoria, Cremonese, Monza, all without a win. That's 6 teams that have not won yet in Italy. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really know how to look that up historically, but that feels like after 5 games a record. I don't know. It feels strange.
That's kind of geez. There's a lot of easy teams to beat up on for the bigger teams this year. I guess parity will not be the word for SerieA. It's gonna be very top heavy. For 4 or 5 teams just fighting it out. But then, it may be a 2-team race by February, March.
You say that. Torino are in 6th place, only 3 points behind Atalanta, so
we're 5 games in, so.
Hey, I'm just saying. Juventus also played to a very boring draw with Fiorentina. Juventus, I mean,
sick.
It's a tough watch. I'm going to be honest. I've been an Allegri defender over the years. I'm gonna be honest. My watch has ended.
Consistently inconsistent.
Well, it's consistently bad and just not enjoyable to watch. And I'm telling you, I think they could be doing a lot better. I think maybe they look across the benches there. Vincenzo Italiano would be very good at Juventus. Not that I'm, as a Viola lover, not pining for Juventus to steal him, but if I am a Juventus front office person, I am making phone calls to Vincenzo Italiano today.
Nedved as a sporting director needs to actually go and do his job instead of dancing with like 5 women at a nightclub.
Well, that is the Juventus way.
Sexually harassing them and
okay. That is not alleged. We don't know.
Well, video was pretty clear cut.
I don't know. It looked consensual, but who are we to judge? Let's move away from that. That's a minefield for sure. Thanks for introducing.
It's the perfect segue for the Arsenal game.
Yeah, Manchester United 3, Arsenal 1.
Is that joke a little too edgy for our network?
I don't know. We'll have to talk to the sponsors about that one. We'll have to talk to the FEC for that one or whatever. SEC? Who is it? FCC? I don't know.
The FCC.
The FCC won't let me beat. Manchester United 3, Arsenal 1. Who knew Arsenal? They played a team that isn't a relegation candidate, and they can't. I'm kidding. If I was a hot take machine, that's what I would say. That's what I would go for here. But United keep their form going here. 3 straight wins, looking a little more solid each and every week. I didn't think they were amazing in this game, if I'm being frank, but they do get the win. I think the bigger storyline here is that Marcus Rashford seems to have gained some confidence, and that's I think he just looked completely lost the last year and a half. And we forget too, he had a pretty bad back injury, a few other injuries that he really didn't have any time off either. This summer was the first time I think he's really had a regular kind of just break and allowed his body to get some, I think, much needed rest. So if he's back in form, watch out, because we know already kind of the talent that he has at his disposal. Anthony also gets a debut goal. Couldn't really decide what celebration he wanted to do. He did about 7 different ones in the span of 10 seconds. Good for him, though. When you're worth $100 million, I guess you can kind of just do whatever you want, and that's fair enough. Arsenal, I don't want to. No ringing alarm bells here, frankly, because no. I think that's too much. They didn't pass their first, I think, big test of the season, and that's fine, because they're still 5 wins and a loss to start the year. I think if you gave that to any Arsenal fan, they would have absolutely begged for that after 6 games. It's a great position to be in. I know that people got carried away, in the lead up to the United match about, Arsenal being title contenders. That was not the goal for this season. The goal for this season was to get back in Champions League. And I think you look at some of the performances this year and you think Arsenal are in a good position. It's a bad result. And Arteta said, that they lack discipline, and if you want to win here, you have to do everything so right. And I think that's just, the pains of a young team. Average age of 24 and a half. That is tied for the youngest in the Premier League with Southampton. And in games like this, it's going to show sometimes. You're going to see those individual mistakes. You're going to see, that maybe just losing your focus a little bit that a more experienced team obviously wouldn't do. I think because they had this hot start, because they have Jesus, they have Zinchenko, these other guys. Saliba's obviously been touted enough, but Saliba's still a young player. He's still not a player that has tons and tons of experience. Guys never even played in the Champions League. It's just, I don't want people getting. It so felt like Arsenal were the team that was getting built up to get torn down, and now I think people have been maybe a little more even keeled than I expected them to be, a little more calm-headed about Arsenal in the discourse here. But I still think they're a team that is going to have a good season. I am curious to see once they start Europa League this week how that rotation looks, how this team gets sorted. But for United, it's a good win. For Arsenal, I think you just kind of move on. You try and put this out of your mind.
Yeah, you could see that youthful inexperience kind of showed. You probably had a few players in that lineup coming in like, oh yeah, we're 5 games unbeaten. Everybody counted us out. We're unstoppable kind of deal. And you go out there and when you have a little bit of pushback and you have to deal with some adversity, you could see some of the Arsenal players drop their shoulders, drop their heads around the 60th, 70th minute and really took them out of the game. It wasn't like they were completely out of this game for most of it. They got unlucky on some of their chances. Gabriel Martinelli had a finish, but Odegaard pushed down Christian Eriksen leading up to the play.
Weirdly got a ton of controversy, and I did not think that was controversial at all. He very clearly fouls him, and it was very clearly in the build-up to the goal. I could not see why it even took that long to review and why it became this massive. I think they're way. You look at the Chelsea game, the goal that was called back there, the goal that should have stood, or at least Coutinho's shot that should have stood. He wasn't offsides that they blew. Where there was way more controversy. Even Van Dijk's probably should have been a red card against Everton. There were way more controversial things that I think did not get even a shred of what that Martinelli goal got.
I think that this is just a learning. This is just a learning experience for Arsenal. They're gonna know what this felt like and know that when it comes to match weeks with bigger teams and that are on level with them or are seen as better than them, that they have to really buckle down and focus all the full 90 minutes, not just until something bad happens and then let it take you out of your game. I think that Arsenal will be fine. As for United, if Rashford does keep this confidence, it's going to be scary. I think that's going to be very good for them. I don't know what to think of Anthony. Yeah, he came in and, he got his goal. But there was a lot of, him just feeling it out, getting the freedom to be creative. But like a lot of passes were just not, or pass attempts were just not near his teammates. Some of them just going out of bounds and giving up the ball a little bit. But we'll see as he comes to speed with the league and whatnot. If it is worth the money for that United put out for him.
Definitely feels like he got bailed out.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like he got bailed. Not, it was a good finish. I don't want to take anything away from it, but I think without that goal, I think people are much more critical of his performance because the goal just, elevates you. Like no one's going to walk away from a guy on his debut scoring a goal and think, well, it actually wasn't that good. It's just
he was the beneficiary of real good build-up play from the team.
Right.
Bruno Fernandes getting to that ball, getting it to Rashford. Rashford with the hold up to slide it through to him, and he just has to run onto it and do the, just the last final touch. So, for United, it's a very good win. A lot of people are still making fun of Cristiano Ronaldo, now that he's not getting a lot of playing time.
Did you see his beautiful cross? I mean, the guy looked great. For a guy that's demanding being on a Champions League contending team, he sure isn't playing like one.
People were making fun of him messing up his fancy flicks and touches in the warm-ups and stuff. So, it's kind of funny. But Cristiano Ronaldo is slowly becoming a meme instead of the top football player that we used to see. And for Arsenal, like I said, it's learning. They'll grow from this, and I think that they're still going to be very competitive this season.
Yeah, I think I would largely agree. I think Arsenal are still in a good way. But like I said, this was the first. You look at their schedule to start this season. Crystal Palace is actually, you can make the case, the best team that they've played so far, and that's a team you would expect to finish 10th. Like they've only finished in above half table once in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
They played Leicester, who we'll talk about, who have been in free fall, Bournemouth, Fulham, Aston Villa. Not the craziest schedule, all things considered. In a few weeks' time, we get that North London derby. That should be fantastic. But, we'll see as we get into the fall. October is a challenging month for Arsenal. I think that's where we're gonna learn a lot about this team. They've got Brentford right before the international break, and then they've got Spurs, Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester City in October. So we'll see.
Tough.
We'll see. We'll see where Arsenal are then. I like it. I also like this. Brighton 5, Leicester City 2. Brighton, the Champions League bound, the top 4 stature. Brighton, the Seagulls, flapping their wings to, to Paris next year in the group stages.
When you have the Tesco Messi on your team, you are going to shell these terrible teams in the league. And, that's kind of just what happened. Good game for Brighton. What a goal by Alexis McAllister. Everybody says he looks like, Brighton has their own Lionel Messi. The goal has a beard and looks like
maybe one of the best goals called back that you've ever seen.
Oh, well, I was talking about his free kick, but yeah, the goal that got called back was
his free kick was spectacular.
Man was all over the place.
This game is obviously in some ways about Brighton, right? Because they score 5. They've been great to start the season. They deserve a lot of credit. Mm-hmm. Especially when you consider that, they sold off some key pieces this summer and now are just able to Graham Potter's stock is continually rising and deservedly so. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for how they played this year. To me, though, this is just as much an indictment on Leicester. Outshot 23-6. 11 on target for Brighton, only 4 on target for Leicester. We talked about Leicester last season too. Their defensive liabilities and mistakes that has not gone away. You felt like maybe some of that could have been because of the injury crisis they had at times last year. They've conceded 16 goals through 5 games. The only team worse is Bournemouth with 18, who obviously got shelled by Liverpool 9-0. So. Not exactly good company to find yourself in. Bournemouth, by the way, who have just been promoted to the Premier League and have been universally picked to be relegated. not a team you necessarily be sharing a lot of defensive statistics with. 1 point in 6 games. That's obviously not very good. And Brendan Rodgers, I think, is getting a lot of flack. I would not be shocked to see him gone by the autumnal equinox. I just think like I've seen this movie before. I've seen this movie before with Brendan Rodgers, where the first few seasons go really well, and he's kind of one of these managers. I think when there's low expectations, he rises above them. And when there are higher expectations, he just cannot hit that ceiling. And when he doesn't, it very often goes toxic and sour. And I think you're seeing some of that. You listen to some of the things he has to say, like post-match and stuff, and it's like he just gets this like whiny, blamey attitude. And it's obviously never Brendan Rodgers' fault. Of course it isn't. They've also had no consistency in formation so far this year. They've played 3 at the back a few times, 4 at the back. It seems like he's just like constantly searching for answers game to game, and there's no real like solid plan here. I think Leicester in a lot of trouble, and they play Aston Villa, which is like the underwhelming derby here. 2 teams that could maybe be without their manager in the coming weeks or months, depending on how the fixtures go, how the results go. And this was interesting too, Dom. We played this game with SerieA. Would you like to guess which team has, or which goalkeeper on which team has the worst post-shot expected goals in the Premier League?
Can I ask one question?
You can ask one question, Dom.
Is the player from a top 5 team?
No.
Okay.
This is Dom. This is a layup. I gotta tell you.
The layup.
We were yes.
Well, considering that I can't use context clues because my internet like kicked out and I got kicked from the lobby for like the last like few minutes, I don't know what you were just talking about before I came back in. I'm gonna assume that we're still talking about Leicester, and I'm gonna say Casper Schmeichel.
Casper Schmeichel's not on Leicester anymore, Chief.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's not.
It's Danny Ward. Negative 5.4 post-shot expected goals. Worst in the league.
That's actually nutty.
It's terrible. Danny Ward has been awful. I mean, truly just bad, stinky. For a bonus point, would you like to guess which team is second to worst? It is, I will give you this. It is a Premier League team that we have already talked about on this show.
Leicester City.
Second worst, Dom. Leicester City is the worst.
Leicester City is the worst. We already talked about it on the show. Aston Villa or Bournemouth?
Good guesses. Bournemouth is third worst.
Okay.
This is a surprising one because I tell you, the propaganda machine for this guy is pretty large.
The propaganda?
See, this is how strong the propaganda is. You can't even think of this guy. It's Arsenal. Arsenal have the second worst. Aaron Ramsdale, second worst post-shot expected goals so far this year. Minus 4.8. Obviously, it's early season, early sample size, but, maybe, I don't know, maybe. So Leicester, I'm worried about Brighton.
Wow.
We saw Brighton start really strong last season. They didn't have the goal scoring at patches last year like they've had so far this season, which is exciting. It's an exciting development for them. If Danny Welbeck stays healthy too, he's been like quietly very good and like a huge part of this Brighton's team success so far. So if that continues to hold, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes on. But elsewhere in the league, Chelsea get a dramatic and controversial win over West Ham, like we already mentioned. Edouard Mendy bailed out by referee decision.
That's crazy.
Absolutely just put on his best acting chops there. Shocking stuff. It was amazing, too, because Maxwell Cornet comes on as a sub and misses a pretty easy chance to put West Ham up 2-1. And I'd say a minute and a half later, they go down. Chelsea go down and score. Kai Havertz scores. By the way, Kai Havertz with the shush celebration. Come on, brother. I mean, I get it. It's been a tough last few months, but you're really setting yourself up for like bad news bears there. Like, let's I don't know. Somebody needs to get his ear and tell him that.
Toxic.
It's just a little much. Liverpool and Everton, maybe the most telemarketed, postmarked results. If you had asked me before this, I would have told you exactly this. 0-0 draw. The 4th 0-0 draw at Goodson Park since 2018. Congrats. It was, as far as 0-0s go, and 0-0s, especially between Liverpool and Everton over the years, it was a more entertaining one at least, but damn, Liverpool. Not looking good.
You guys are having it rough right now.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson got injured in this game. He's out for 3 weeks. It's cool, because we have like plenty of midfielders to go around.
Hey,
it's actually totally fine.
What is a Liverpool season without an injury crisis? So
I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
You guys are sitting in 7th, 1 point behind, a conference, or you guys are sitting in the Conference League spot, right? So
it's the only trophy Klopp has not won at Liverpool so far. So maybe next year that's our plan. I don't know. I sure hope not. I'll cry. I'll actually cry.
He won a Europa League trophy with them?
No. So maybe Europa League is next. We should have. No one talks about the Sevilla final in that we should have had 3 penalties for handballs in the first half. This is not even me putting my homework glasses on. It was just a shocking referee performance. So we have VAR in that final. We're at least 3-0 up at halftime. 2 of those being penalties. Comfortably. But hey, you know what? That's a tale for another time.
If we had VAR in the 2005 Champions League final, Dudek coming off his line multiple times.
We're not going to talk about the handball that Milan had that led right to their second goal. We're not going to talk about that one. That would have been a red card and penalty. Okay. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that if you want. We can have that chat. What's up?
I do not recall. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. Plead the 5th. That's smart. This week is great because we have the return of Champions League. I'm not going to sing it and embarrass myself. Just kidding. Yes, I am. The champions!
The Heineken. Look. The champions!
I tell you what, Heineken, I'm sipping the Heineken branded here. If I had a Pepsi, we really could have been the Champions League sponsors, because that's all you see anymore is the Heineken and Pepsi commercials.
The post game, you just have it there. Tonight was a good game.
Unreal stuff. Excited to have the Champions League back, and we have some really nice matchups to start this week. Really excited about it. PSG versus Juventus. Juventus news, by the way, Paul Pogba is getting surgery on his meniscus. That's going to have him out likely till January. Big news, and could obviously affect his career. Certainly seems likely that he's going to be missing the World Cup, which is a huge loss for France. It's a big loss for Juventus too, because obviously he was signed to be a big part of that midfield, and they're going to be missing out on that. Angel Di Maria seems unlikely to play in this game. I don't see this going any other way, but PSG just beating the brakes off Juventus here. I mean,
this is Juventus.
Literally.
This is Juventus.
They've always been the old lady, and I mean they are showing their age this year, I would say. And they are an old lady crossing the street with a Lamborghini speeding towards them, and it's you kind of want to take your eyes away from it. Part of you really wants to keep watching though. Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe have started off really strong this season, and I gotta tell you, I worry for them. I worry for Juventus in this game. I think this could get a little embarrassing.
I think that with what PSG are doing this year, if they can be serious in the Champions League, and I think that Messi is going to play a big part of that this year. He's had a year to get himself comfortable in Paris and whatnot, and I'm waiting for it. Because of the big 3, that we've come to know and love for the longest time, Cristiano, Messi, and Ibrahimovic. 2 of those 3 have kind of taken a seat to the side and kind of, being a more vocal influence in their teams. And then one's still on the pitch doing it. So, I want to see how Messi kind of fares this Champions League with PSG, because he's going to be very crucial to their success.
Yeah, it doesn't get talked about enough, actually, that he missed some crucial penalties last season in the Champions League too that could have could have kept them afloat. But he has started out really well in Liga and so far this year. Mbappe and Neymar both as well. Like that attack looks very scary, and I don't know, I'd be a little worried there. But Inter versus Bayern Munich as well. This should be a great one. Bayern have obviously started out very strong in the Bundesliga.
Struggling a little bit. They're in third, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, listen. What do we?
I don't know. Maybe the Bundesliga isn't as one-sided as we thought.
Yeah. I mean, if people are going to tell me that Freiburg's going to win the title, sure, we can play that game. We all know where this is headed. I've seen this movie many, many times. In fact, the last 8 years I've seen this film. I know where it goes. I'm looking forward to this though. I think it's a nice marquee matchup. It's always nice too when you get a Champions League final replay. I know it's like 12 years later, but it's always nice when you have some like history there between the clubs at least. I think that's always a cool little wrinkle to have. Speaking of history, I am absolutely sick of playing Napoli in the Champions League. It has frequently not been a fun affair. I think the only thing that I can say about this game is Victor Osimhen is probably going to be out for it, which is nice for Liverpool. But
Maradona time.
It probably is going to be Kvaradona time, and I'm a little worried about that, if I'm being frank, because Trent Alexander-Arnold has not been locked in so far this year, so I'm a little scared of this one. We've gone to Naples so many times and just looked absolutely awful. Part of that has been because it's frequently been like Ancelotti teams, which have just had our number. Just look at, I don't know, recent history, but I don't feel good about this one. Liverpool are in such a bad way, and you look how Napoli have started the season, very strong, especially attacking, where Liverpool have looked pretty weak defensively at times this year. So I'll be honest, a little worried about that. But for the neutral, I think this could be a really fascinating game. Those are just the big marquee matchups. But I think Champions League, no matter what, offers up a lot of good stuff. If you're like an older school type of person, Celtic, Real Madrid might appeal to you, of course. Dom, Milan plays Salzburg. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. You got Sevilla, Man City to look forward to. Ajax versus Rangers, again, more of like an old school matchup. I think people can get into that. Atletico Madrid versus Porto, if you're looking for like a redux of last year. Some of those games.
Oh my God.
Got a little testy.
That game may be kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. Especially if the reffing is like inconsistent. Ooh, that game is going to be nuts.
Well, there's a guarantee, Chief. The reffing will be inconsistent.
Yeah.
And Spurs, Marseille, not bad either. Not bad either. London and Marseille, two very historic cities, of course. Looking forward to that. As far as the weekend action goes, got some big games here. Manchester City against Tottenham in the Premier League. That's obviously a big one. You've got another London derby here, Fulham against Chelsea. Feels like every week we get them, probably because there's like a million London clubs in the Premier League now. Crystal Palace against Manchester United. Looking forward to that on Sunday. As far as Italy goes, not quite as tasty as what we got last week, but we've got Inter versus Torino. At this point, at least a top half of the table bout. That's something to look forward to. We do have Lecce versus Monza, two potential relegation candidates.
Monza's going to get a win.
One of these teams has a good chance. I would actually put my money on Lecce if I was betting. They've looked better, I think, over the recent weeks. And they're a young team as well. I think can kind of grow into the season. So I'm looking forward to that. You got the return of the very early games, too, on Sunday, 6:30, Atalanta versus Cremonese. Italy loves like a super early game and then like 2:45. God bless them. God bless the Italians.
Italy, is big on the prime time games and stuff like that. I really like the atmosphere of those. You don't see that a lot with the Premier League. You don't see a lot of too many night times. They're always mid-afternoon.
Once you get to the winter, yes,
early evening games.
That's mostly just because of the way the sun works. But yeah. I do think Italy does a lot of things right in that regard. By the way,
they got to get their TV rights, right.
They got to get those stadiums right as well.
Yeah.
Would be my suggestion.
Great for the league.
By the way, Dom, I don't know if you saw this, unconfirmed. Diego Costa is apparently in talk to go to Wolves. That's just the word on the streets.
Wait, isn't the man like 36?
I don't know. He has horse placenta in his knee. What do you want?
What is this? Is this a move just to get a bully on the field?
So their new
Kick out
signing,
the center back shins, and
their new
they come
signing
off?
that they got tore his ACL, of course, for Wolves. They just have like terrible injury luck, it seems, and they obviously have like an issue with goal scoring, and yeah, apparently Diego Costa is their choice.
This isn't 2013. Like, don't get me wrong, Diego Costa, when he was at Chelsea, was a very good striker and a very annoying person to play against. But, like, come on. I don't think that that's going to I don't think that that's gonna, help Wolves out in this time of need. Like, it's a very desperate move. Nobody else on the market kind of.
I'm just saying, I'm laying it out there so that people can prepare themselves for that type of emotional and physical damage to be on the scene. I'm gonna ask our producer Kyle because Kyle, we have a challenge, right? If we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube,
Yes.
what is?
So it's whatever you guys want to come up with for your leg of it. Every pod is going to have their own challenge.
So we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and part of that is we're gonna give a little incentive back to you. You subscribe, you enjoy the content. I was thinking, Dom, here's what we'll do, and I think this really fits our brand, and I think could become a recurring thing. I think upon 1,000 subs on YouTube, we will look back at one of my favorite personal games, and I have to imagine one of your favorite games as well. No, we're not going there. That'll be later. We will do Istanbul some other time, my friend. You don't blow your load early. I am talking Italy versus Germany, 2006 World Cup.
Ooh!
I think we get a little nostalgic. We break down the game. Well, that was the final. Maybe we could talk the final another time. One of my favorite games.
Italy France is crazy though.
Italy France was great. I think that is one of my favorite international games of all time for sure. Has probably, not even probably, my absolute favorite all-time celebration is Grosso, just like no idea what to do, starts sobbing and running and just shaking his head. Because if I'm being honest, we all have it planned out if we score a big goal, like what kind of celebration we do. When in reality, most of us would probably be so overwhelmed with emotion that we probably would start crying and probably just start running because the adrenaline in your body, especially when you know you just likely scored the goal to send your nation to the final. I don't know. I love it. It's nostalgic for me. Dom, if you're on board with that, I think that's what our leg
like a
of this
plan.
challenge is going to be. So get us to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you'll get to see us break down, talk about the history of that game, talk about the legacy of it, talk about the players involved. Because, by the way, too, I mean, if you're talking like legendary players, it has them in every position, practically. So go ahead. You can find us on YouTube. You can find the whole Underground Sports Philadelphia family, branch, network, whatever you'd like to call it, there as well.
Yeah,
Dom,
get us to 1,000, man. We're quite a ways away, but 1,000 is the goal. Get us there.
quite a ways away today. In a month's time, who knows?
Who knows?
You plant a seed. Who knows what grows? Probably watermelon.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask you if you had anything to add before we get out of here, and I think you do. It sounds like you do.
Yeah, big shout out to everybody who supported the channel on YouTube in August. We had a large month of growth over the last month in August, and hopefully, like you said, who knows what this month has in store. Keep supporting, keep sharing, and if you're here just for the Top Ends pod, take a look at the channel and look at the other podcasts that the YouTube has to offer. You may find something else that you really like. I want to definitely get started on that new Game of Thrones spinoff series, and maybe pop on a streamer season every now and then to talk about that. But I got to get myself caught up. I've been watching Big Brother. That's been my TV show. Big Brother and the Challenge.
Oh, the challenge is great.
Yeah, the challenge
is great.
I haven't watched it since it used to be like the Real World Road Rules challenge. But now that they use the CBS, stars from all the reality shows, it's pretty cool.
I've yet to check out the newest one, but
It's
great.
It's a good season.
Great TV show. Can't recommend it enough. Can't recommend enough that you watch Champions League this week, Europa League as well. Don't sleep on it if you got nothing else to do on your Thursday. Which
Paramount Plus, baby.
Paramount Plus, hook it up for yourself. It's worth it. Check out the games that we mentioned at the weekend. We'll be back next week to talk about all of this and more. Oh, stay safe. Enjoy that back to school, baby. You know we'll be there. Yeah. Learning, doing our best. We'll talk to you next time, people. Be good.